Big John, Big John.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. It is Monday the 18th. It's about 10 till 4. Got my beater up on the left. Gonna change oil, rotate the tires. I got a little bit of brake noise coming from the rear, so I'm gonna check that out. But yeah, run some tires over actually for this. My log arch, skidding arch. The other tire literally came apart sitting. So I found some old tires and I found one spare. Put that on there the other day. Well, there's videos of me and Stan out there in the woods, I think, from a few days ago. But I had some old tires out in the barn, and so I took a couple of them over to CJ's and a couple of the rims and had him over to Northwest Tire getting them changed over. Oh, sorry, shoulder's doing not good. Anyway, so yeah, we're going to change the oil in the Bug. And I do have a little trick to show you guys if you have a Volkswagen with a diesel in it. But we'll get to that in a minute. So, oh, I probably can't see much here, but I do have the drain plug. Well, I thought I had it loosened up. It's getting tight, loose, tight, loose. I don't like the way that feels. I don't like the way that feels at all. We're gonna check this out. Well, I hope I didn't get that cross-threaded in there last time. I don't think I did. Boy, oh boy. She's gonna fight me all the way. And then it'll drop in the hole, or in the pan. And then you have to fish it out. Of course, I don't have a pan, but... yeah, there we go. Well, them threads look all right. Okay, I'll be back. Why aren't you focusing? Did I get oil on you? There we go. One thing that is a must if you have a lift. You definitely need to spend $120 or whatever it was. Just a cheap one. But the oil pan that extends up, and then it uses air. You take this tube either out or all the way up. You close this ball valve and put air to it, and just a couple pounds of pressure, and then it pumps it out from the bottom out this spout here, and you can put it into a barrel or jugs or whatever you want to get rid of it into. Totes, shuttle, doesn't matter. Nice long hose. It's probably about a 6 foot, 8 foot hose on there. So yeah, while this is draining, we'll get some tires off. My holder is broke. I took that to work last week. My holder for my phone. It's plastic. I like it. It works great, but I got a little rambunctious with it, and it's plastic, and it broke. So I took it to work and said, hey guys, make me one of these out of aluminum. Well, you can do that. Might take a while. I said, I got all day. Just let me know when you get it done. And so yeah, so lift just came out empty. Lester's truck, son-in-law Eric was working on his father-in-law's truck, and Had that in here, '01 Chevy. Put brakes on the front, unit bearing on the front. He had already put ball joints in the passenger side. So we got that fixed, done yesterday. And on the way back to his house, blew brake line right behind the fuel tank. So that'll be fun to fix. It'll probably come back over here for that. But so getting that ready. That's his wood cutting truck. He's been using his fancy truck pulling a trailer to get some logs to get to his place. But so yeah, so we are going to rotate the tires on the old girl and check the brakes. I might just let her down a little bit. I don't feel like picking tires up that far, but we'll let that drain while we do that. All right, back in a few. Okay, here's a quick question for you guys. When you rotate tires, how do you do it? Because all the books are different and everything else like that. But a guy told me, a general rule of thumb, told me this quite a few years ago. General rule of thumb is you take your drive tires, which in this case are the fronts. If it's a pickup truck, it's the rears. If it's an all-wheel drive, then you're on your own. But anyway, what I've been doing is I take my drive tires and change their directions, which means you crisscross them to the back. So front passenger goes to rear drivers, front drivers goes to rear passenger. Then your non-drive tires just move straight up or back, whichever the case may be. They don't change directions. So that's my general rule of thumb on how I rotate tires now. If you have a dually, I guess you better look at the book. But anyway, so we're going to bust these loose and go from there. Well, all right, I got a little sidetracked. So, haven't done anything with the wheels yet. And she's about done with the oil draining out of her. Make sure we get that in there square. All right, let's push this over here under the intercooler. I'll show you that in a minute. I'm gonna grab my wrench. It gets real loose at the... Okay, that's tight enough. All right, don't tighten it too tight. Now I need a screwdriver. And let me get a light so you guys can see what's going on here. So I'm going to stick this somewhere where I can find some metal. All right, I'm going to hang it because everything on this car is plastic. Oh, now I hooked my screwdriver. So let's hang you right here. And you're going to pin this pivot. Okay, now I don't know if you guys can see it. See that little screw right there? I should have put a little self-tapper bolt in it with a socket head, but this is what I had. So now this is the bottom of the intercooler. You can see it goes up in there. Here's your charge pipe for your turbocharger. Goes through there, cools off the air. When the air goes through the turbocharger, it heats it up. And the cooler the air is, the more efficient it burns. So it comes over here right in front of the passenger side tire and goes through an intercooler, which cools the air off, which makes it a denser charge, You can get more air in the cylinder that way and better efficiency. So now your turbocharger is oil cooled and oil lubricated. Make sure this camera's right. Yeah, I really need to change this out for a hex head. Okay, look at that. That's engine oil. Now you guys might think, well, it's no big deal, it's just some engine oil. But what happened there, yeah, I dropped the screw. So what happens is, and it's not such a big deal this time of the year, but if it's really hot out and you're running the snot out of this car, whooping on it, I don't know if you guys ever heard of a diesel running, sorry, I'm wiping my fingers off. Have you ever heard of a diesel engine running away? Well, that's what can happen. There's still oil coming out of it. So that's a couple of ounces, at least an ounce. So anyway, man, the harder you run the engine, the harder you whoop on it, the hotter it gets. Higher RPMs, more pressure, more heat. If you run this thing hot enough, and say the ambient air temperature is hot enough, this oil coming out here, which is in the intake system, in the charged air intake system, can start to be picked up by the high velocity of air going through that intercooler. That diesel engine will run on hot engine oil. So if you get her wound tight enough, running hard enough, and screaming it, it can actually pick that engine oil up and start to run on that engine oil. And when that happens, it just keeps increasing speed, increasing speed. Doesn't matter what you do. You let off the throttle, it just keeps climbing and climbing and climbing. Turn the key off, shut the fuel off to it, doesn't matter. It just keeps running, running, running. And it'll literally run away, because the faster it starts to run, the faster the air, the hotter the air going through there, the more oil it picks up. The more oil it gets into it is more fuel, and it's fast, and the faster it runs. So it just compounds, and it'll just scream. The only way you can shut this off is if that would happen, would be to block the intake track somewhere. That's why your sled pullers and stuff like that, tractor pullers and stuff, they have what they call a guillotine on the intake. It's basically just like a guillotine, but it's a blade that comes down and shuts the air off going into the motor. And that's an emergency pull that they have. Big red knob that they pull. That guillotine is spring loaded. It drops, closes, shuts the air off. The motor dies, suffocates. Your passenger cars and trucks do not have that. So you would have to open the hood and get the air intake off so that you could crush the hose or stuff something in it to stop the airflow. By that time, this little thing's going to be sky high, and the rods are going to be laying on the road right out of the bottom of that aluminum oil pan. It's still coming out. Should have put a container. Oh, there it goes. It just started dripping. I should have put a little container under there and see exactly how much it got. But anyway, that's the secret to changing oil in a Volkswagen Beetle. Now, granted, this thing has 230,000 miles on it, but it don't smoke. It don't oil smoke. I mean, you get blue smoke, diesel smoke, stuff when you start it up. But other than that, she runs good, runs like a top. But you get them seals in that cartridge for the turbocharger, they start to leak a little bit. And over the course of 3,000 to 5,000 miles, that oil settles down there. And I drive this thing like an old man. I do. I just putt. That's how I get my best mileage. I get 48 miles a gallon with the thing. So I putt. I don't leave, well, I try not to leave late for work, you know. And then when on the way home, I'm just road farming and sightseeing and just take my time. I don't run her hard. I have. We run her 90 mile an hour all the way to the turnpike in Cleveland one day. She just hauled the mail. But just, I don't know if that has something to do with a little bit, that oil doesn't get burned off, a little bit of increments as it's coming in. I don't know. But yeah, it's done dripping now. So I put the screw back in and it'll be good. Just thought that'd be an interesting story for you guys. I guess I forgot to mention, they don't come with a drain in them. I actually drilled that hole and put that screw in there. So if you own a turbo diesel Volkswagen anyway, you might want to check into that. It's hard to do when you're watching the camera and not watching what you're doing with your screwdriver. But it's thin plastic, so you don't tighten it up super tight. I probably ought to put a little bit of silicone on there. But this is the pressurized side. So if anything leaks, it's not going to leak dirt in there. If that screw falls out, it's just going to be pressure coming out. It's not like it's the suction side where you would get dirt in it or something like that. But yeah, I forgot to say that I actually drilled that hole and put that screw in there. So, all right. She's drained. All right, we'll put stuff in, start putting stuff in it now. 4.5 quarts. Oh yeah, another word of advice about draining oil. This tank, the hose on the back side is actually your fill level, or your level, how full it is. I don't know if you can see. But, so right there is how full it is. So you got to make sure you got enough capacity to hold what you're draining. My Ford, my Super Duty takes 15 quarts of oil. That's almost 4 gallons. Well, I think this thing had about 3 gallons of capacity at one time. It's been a long time ago. It's one of the first times I used it. I think it was actually the first time it filled up on me. So yeah, I pulled the drain plug, letting it drain, and I was doing something, running around doing other stuff, letting it drain, and I come back out, and there is oil from that chair to that spindle to this post, and there's a drain right there, and it was about 2 feet from that drain. Luckily I come out when I did. Sorry about that, wrong button. So yeah, I grabbed some oil dry and started making a dam, and thank God it didn't get into the drain. But anyway, so yeah, so make sure you've got enough capacity for what you're draining. All right, let's lower this down a little bit and change some tires. Wow. Front passenger tire come off good. Back passenger or back driver's side come off all but one stud. Well, actually no, I had to get the breaker bar out for one. One stud on the front passenger, one on the rear drivers, all of the ones on the front drivers, and 3 of the ones on the back passenger. Whew. They were hammered on there tight. It took everything that and I got the big impact, battery impact. I just about got my air one out, but this is a big brushless Milwaukee. It's like 1400 foot-pounds of reverse torque. But I got them. So anyway, all the brakes look good on the front. Everything is good, plenty of pad left. Same on this side. I heard a noise. I had a noise. And I thought it was this one over here. But no, this one's good. Well, you notice it here. Let me get a light. The dust shield on the inside's gone, so you can see the inside of the rotor. Well, then you come over here and look what's still there. And look where it's laying right there. See how it's scuffed right there? So there's my noise. It's this dust shield rubbing on the rotor. So I'll have to check it out and see what it takes to get it off. Probably just tear it off like I did the other side. But yeah, I don't know, right or wrong, I'm going to put a little bit of Never Sees in each one of them stud holes. Another thing about Volkswagens, they're not lug nuts, they're lug studs. And they go into, they thread into the hub. Like such. So that makes it a little interesting getting them lined up. It's not bad, especially when you got a lift and you get up here where you can see. My Never Sees was getting a little tightened up. So I squirted a little WD-40 in it and mixed her up good. So that's ready to go. It's a lot smoother than it was. So yeah, we gotta check out and see what we gotta do to get this dust shield off. I'll be back. All right, got her done. Those wheels they're a pain to get lined up, especially on a couple of them where the screw that holds the rotor in there from turning broke off when I changed them. So the rotor's kind of free floating. So you gotta line the rotor up on the hub, then you gotta get the rim on there and get one of the studs started, or one of the lugs started. But anyway, another little thing. I guess we'll call this Volkswagen 101. On your cap, your filter cap, it has a cartridge style filter. There's an O-ring right there. I can't hold it, but anyway, you can see that O-ring right there. One of the first times I changed the oil in this thing, I took the O-ring off. There's also one here that you change. It comes with the kit comes with them. The filter comes with them. So I put the new ones on. The bottom one was missing. I didn't think nothing of it. I thought, well, somebody messed up. Well, I went to put that back down in there, and it slides down into that hole there, and I couldn't get it to go all the way down in. And I got to looking, and here a chunk of that O-ring was down in that hole. It had broken apart, so I spent half an hour, 40 minutes digging little pieces of O-ring out of the very bottom of that hole. And I don't know, whoever had it before must have not changed the O-ring on it and let it get dry and deteriorated or whatever. But yeah, so it's a cartridge style. Goes in there. All right, well, I'm going to get that oil filter in there, and we'll see what happens next. All right, well, we've got the engine oil filter changed, fresh oil put in it. Check the master cylinder for brake fluid. Add a little bit of windshield washer fluid to it. I can't fill it up because it's fractured from when I hit the deer, I think, which is why the black thing is here, and the dent right there on the hood. Check the coolant back here. Rotated the tires. I still got to check the pressures and all them, but checked all the brakes, and I think we're good to go. So yeah, Tammy's fixing supper, so we'll get this thing down off the lift, put it in the other bay, bring the Mini back in here, and we'll go from there. Thanks for following along, everybody. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share them with your friends. Leave a comment below. Hopefully you learned something on this one. Bye.